Hey guys, Malagant here. We are going to be talking about nether items, specifically grafting, and the point of the video is going to be basically highlighting like the limitations and the freedoms, and perhaps like talk about how to approach the nether items to get like more out of them. I would like to highlight the limitations first. There are two limitations. One of them is the amount of grafting that you can have on a nether item. By default, it is 3. The second limitation, and the last one that I can think of, is the fact that when you're taking an affix, it needs to be going to the same location on your nether item as well. So if you're grabbing a base stat, it will be going onto base stat on your nether item. So unlike other ARPGs, namely Last Epoch, you don't necessarily need to have the target and the source the same type of item, for instance. It can be from braces to ring, it can be braces to helm. Another example is that the pool of the stats doesn't necessarily matter whatsoever on the nether item at all. So if you look over here, for instance, it is a helm that is giving me raw damage. Normally a helm is not able to roll raw damage on its base stats at all. So that said, it would be kind of good for you to figure out what are like the most impactful stats that you would like to get. And then you actually have the chance to put those stats to any item that you want. So I could have this helm with like on the base stats movement speed and raw damage if I wanted to, or crit strike chance or raw damage if I wanted to. At the end of the day, I'm going to need to like decide which one I want more. Another example is that like you don't necessarily need to have only bracer legendary just because this is a bracer to begin with. So you can actually have like this right side is, as you can see, it's a helmet, Assassin's Foresight. You know, it has the legendary effect of it, and I can put this legendary effect on my braces. So therefore, the point is you are not limited to, in your nether items at least, you are not limited to their item type pool of legendary effects anymore. So another example would be I only liked one of the ring legendary effects. It was this one, the defensive stat on both of the rings is increased. And I couldn't really like find another ring that was kind of good for me. So instead, like I am using luck increases 35 faster. While talking about this, a mistake that I have done, and I would like you to avoid that mistake, is that if you pay attention to my braces over here, I have only one graft remaining. So that means I have grafted a legendary effect and I have grafted the raw damage that you can see, the perfect roll. However, this was a mistake, and the reason is because I have grafted another brace's legendary effects onto these. While my item was already a bracer, what I could have done if I wanted those specific legendary effects, I could have come to the blacksmith and I could have just rerolled until I have gotten the legendary effect that I would like to. Remember, this reroll is going to be only giving you the legendary effects that are existing within the pool of the item type. So as long as I keep on rerolling, it's going to be continuing to give me the legendary effects of the braces because this item is bracer. Tiny bit of information from the temple runs, right? I have covered this on another video as well, but I think like it would be good to mention this over here. Most of the time what we are trying to do is obviously, you know, grabbing a perfect rolled pure stat onto our nether item, and that's usually our goal, right? But depending on our playthrough, you know, our pure stats and perfect rolls can actually expand. If you read this, it says increases the possible pure stat max score on a pure item. So I think it's actually trying to like roll higher, right? So that said, like you should probably max this. You should do some like temple grind before that. Lastly, before finalizing this video, I would like to talk about like what is the approach when it comes to, you know, finding that nether piece. Because like this starts when you have like just, you know, epic items and like legendary items and you're finding your first nether item. It's pretty easy to find an upgrade, right? But you can push this a little bit further. For instance, yesterday on stream, I had everything nether except like my helm and my neck. It is pretty much going to be taking you a while to, you know, find the neck and the helm, or even the ones that you would like to find. But there is a little bit of like target farming possible in primordial nether especially. So I was gonna go for like the nether tiara of the ancestral champion. That is the one that I wanted, right? My chances were either finding a helm and then re-rolling it until it becomes tiara on the blacksmith, or I could directly try and like get tiara to begin with, right? So that would be like the best thing to do. What I was doing is that like I was coming over here, I was writing tiara, and when I had high nether charge, and I was seeing that like this guy is dropping it right now, as you can see right over there. So I was running this one when my nether charge was full, and I was not running any other warlord until my nether charge was full. So that was the approach that I was doing all the time. So especially if a legendary effect is the one that I want to use on the same item pool, then I was basically target farming that one, so that like we have a higher chance of finding that nether item. You can increase your chances tiny little bit more by basically, for instance, running the place that has 2 ring drops, right? So one of the bosses actually usually have 2 rings and 1 neck. This guy, for instance, right now, 2 rings, 1 neck. So if you were missing a ring, you know, that's a very high chance of getting a nether ring right there. Hope this video was useful. I'm going to be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like.